Hi guys,
Hi all.
my name is Anastasia and I am Senior Digital Analyst in OWOX.
And my name is Maria. I'm Business Development Manager at OWOX BI. And today we're going to talk about attribution and how you can choose the proper model for your business.
So let's go to the presentation. But first of all, could you please tell us if it's everything okay with the sound and you can hear us and see us good?
Also, before we start, I'm going to answer one of the most common questions. If we're going to send out the slide deck and recording, yes, today or tomorrow, we're going to send you the link to the slide deck together with a recording of the webinar and other useful materials on the subject that you can take a look at later. So let's get started.
Okay, so if you can hear or see the presentation well, please type into the chat.
Yeah, just mark as a plus that, we guys know you can hear us.
Okay, so let's start. Today we are going to talk about attribution, and I hope that this webinar will help you to decide which model fits you more. But first of all, let's start with a small introduction. So who we are and what we do. We are OWOX company and we are your marketing analyst assistants. We can manage data, get marketing reports, and make right decisions. And here is a small list of our clients. So today's agenda is these following questions. First of all, we want to answer what is actually attribution, what attribution models are available at the market. You will receive small comparison of models, and you will receive the answer to the question how to choose a model that will benefit your business. So if you have any questions, you can type into the chat and we will try to answer you during this webinar.
So yeah, now I'll pick it up from here and we'll cover the first question that we have on the agenda. What is attribution? Before we start with that, would you mind just, typing in what attribution model do you currently use? Do you guys use last non-direct click? Do you use linear model? Maybe any custom approaches? Maybe someone here has GA360 and you use data-driven model. Please let us know in the chat so we can, understand it and customize our presentation and description on the way. So what is attribution? Here is an example from the real life. This is the couple who got married. And in this case, a typical customer journey would look like somebody swiped right on Tinder and they went on the first date. Sometime later, they went to travel together for vacation time. And finally, in the end, the guy proposed. And here we have our conversion. So if we try to attribute the credit from the conversion, how should it be divided between all these interactions? If you ask Tinder, all credit should go to Tinder. If you ask the guy, the credit should go to the guy. But if you ask a data scientist, they would probably recommend you to distribute the credit in certain percentage between each of the interactions. So the attribution is the process of splitting the value between the efforts that have brought customer to that conversion. And if we take a look at the funnel, we can see that there are several stages. The first one is focused on creating awareness and interest around your brand. The next one is focused on consideration when we're bringing customers to our website, helping them make their decision. And then we have a conversion. Some of you might think that, okay, that is it. The funnel is over. That's what we have. But honestly, if we look deeper, we can see that there is also a huge part dedicated to the retention. And if we look at the campaigns dedicated to each step of the sales funnel, we'll see that in the beginning, when we are creating awareness, raising their awareness around our brand, our campaigns are less targeted and less attributable because we are trying to get new names, new eyes on our brand. and we're just targeting pretty much everyone from the target audience. And if we're talking about campaigns focused on the retention, they're highly targeted. We already know customer email, we already have their cookie information, and they're highly attributable because we know how to connect that particular campaign with a particular customer. And that brings us to problem of a lot of marketing specialists, that they have campaigns focused on the upper funnel of their business, but they don't get any credit because they cannot be connected to the particular customers at that time. And it looks like our campaigns that are focused on bringing customers to the brand not getting enough value and not getting enough credit. You might think that it's a pretty new problem, but actually it's not. If we look back over 100 years ago, we can find the quote from John Wanamaker, who used to be a merchant at the time. And even then, he used to say that half of the money he spends on advertising budget is wasted. The trouble is he doesn't know which half. That's funny how, like 100 something years later, still the relevant problem for most of marketeers. So let's take a look at the questions that business has to answer using their attribution models. The first one is, how do I achieve my sales plan? How do I meet those targets? Second, how to allocate my marketing budget to get the most from what I can? How to decrease the costs and how to increase sales? I'm sure that a lot of you would, try different attribution models just in order to answer those questions. So now let's take a look at the available attribution models at the market. I see that nobody used their chance to ask anything in chat and share their position. Looks like we have like a shy audience today, but maybe later during the webinar, you guys, will break the ice and you feel better chatting here. So getting back to available attribution models. Probably the most famous one is a first-click attribution model when we assign all the credit to the first source that brought customer to the website. And that means that all other sessions that happened on the way to purchase are not getting any credit. The second one is last click. Pretty much the same thing, but just vice versa. We're giving all the credit to the very last session, to the very last source that happened before the conversion. The next one I have here is last non-direct click. Probably it's the most used one nowadays from typical attribution models. It assigns all the credit to the last source that was before the transaction if it wasn't direct. So let's say there were 3 different sessions and the last one was direct. In this case, this attribution model will assign the credit to the second session. Another one is linear. I think that is the easiest one. We just split the whole credit equally between all the sources. Time decay is when we assign the highest credit to the last session before the conversion, and we go back in time and assign less and less value to previous sessions. And of course, time decay or U-shaped model, when we assign the most credit to the first and last sessions, and the rest is split equally in between. So these are typical attribution models. They're also called position-based models that are available for you guys in your Google Analytics account, and you can go and use them just today. There are certain pros and cons for each of them, but according to studies and according to our experience, position-based models, especially if we're talking about just one-click models like first, last, or last non-direct click, they don't take into account around 80% of sessions that happen on the way to a purchase. That means that only 20, sometimes even less percent of sessions get their credit. Getting back to last click attribution, according to the Droll study from 2017, at that time 44% marketeers were still using last click attribution, and only 18% used algorithmic one. And out of those 44%, 72.4% of marketers didn't know why they chose their model, so that just historically happened. Or if they were ones to choose it, they've selected the easiest attribution option available to them and the option that will be easier to explain to the team. So why is it happening? Why do we, have that in place still, even though there are so many tools available at the market? So one of the reasons is lack of understanding of potential attribution impact. What do I mean by that? I mean that if I told you today that proper attribution modeling will increase your sales by 30% without increasing your ad budget, would it make you reconsider your attribution approach? Would it make you try something different? So if we understand what it can give us and how our business can benefit from it, we're gonna, take another step in implementing attribution. The second one is no ownership of attribution or analytics. Usually, when working with attribution modeling, different parts of the marketing department use different attribution models. So people who run display campaigns, they will be using first click. People who run retargeting, they will be using last click. And in the end of the day, using several different models gives us a revenue that is higher than we actually gathered when we actually received. So it doesn't make sense in terms of financial analysis. So in order to make it work, we need one person to take ownership and to take responsibility for implementing and supporting the tool inside of the organization to make it work for everyone. And the last but not the least is scattered data. Um, it's actually a bit connected to the second point. Why is it so difficult to take the responsibility of attribution? Because all data we have is scattered between different services like ad platforms, customer behavior in Google Analytics, our orders data, like order completion data in our ERP system, email marketing data in our CRM or email marketing providers, and so on. So we have a bunch of different sources that we need to bring together in order to properly evaluate efficiency of our ad campaigns. What else is available there besides position-based models? How we can take, it to a different level? Um, so the first one is you probably like if you run AdWords campaigns, you've done that. It's attribution available within AdWords. Um, it's very convenient if AdWords is the only paid channel that you guys use. But if you use also Facebook, if you run Twitter, I don't know, like Click, Creatia, Outbrain campaigns, it won't consider the efficiency of those campaigns since the data won't be available there. The same thing goes with like double click campaigns. We've already talked about GA attribution. There is another attribution tool in GA360, and Anastasia will tell about it a bit later. So that one is a pretty comprehensive, I would say. And you probably have heard about Google Attribution and Attribution 360. I know marketers are waiting for these two tools, but not much information is available on about them on the market. Maybe in the beginning of 2019, and once we have something to share about them, we'll be glad to let you know and to share it with you. So if not last non-direct click model, and if not position-based models, what are other options? You can build your own model with Markov chains or Shapley value, or you can use a GA360 model that is basically based on the Shapley values. You can build a model that is based on your sales funnel. You can use any other custom algorithms that you think work best for your business. And now I'm giving the floor to Anastasia, and she'll deep dive you in the technical part. So brace yourself and feel free to send questions in chat if you have any.
Okay, thank you, Maria. So, um, so guys, let's start. First of all, when analytics takes place inside the advertising platform, it's normal to use last non-direct click. This is logical. But when we collected data from different platforms in one place, last non-direct click loses its relevance. So here is the list of the questions that you can ask yourself before you are going to start use another attribution model. The first one is, do you have data from different ad platforms in one particular warehouse? Next one is, do you want to estimate the value of every step and session for a particular user? And the last but not the least question is, do you want to understand which bundles of ad channels work well together? So today we are going to discuss the methodology of each model and choose together which appropriates to your business. We are going to discuss three most popular models and answer following questions. How is value distributed? Where is it used? What data you can and you have to use? And which question helps to answer every model? And let's start with figures and formulas. So today we are going to talk about the following models. It is Markov chains. It is used in Attributions 360 in GA, by the way, vector Shapley or Shapley value. This model is the most popular example of using this model is data-driven attribution in GA 360, and funnel-based attribution, it's OWOX attribution. So let's start with Shapley value. Before I started, can you guys just type into the chat, have you tried one of these models, and do you have like any questions about working with them, or you can share your experience? So let's go to the first one. Let's start with Shapley value. Data-driven attribution based on game theory called the Shapley value. The Shapley value was developed as an approach to fairly distributing the output of a team among the members. In the case of data-driven attribution, the team being analyzed has marketing touch points. For example, it is sources of sessions, for example, organic search, display, and email. And each point is a team members, and the output of the team is conversions. The data-driven attribution algorithm computes the counterfactual chains of each marketing touchpoint. That is, it compares the conversion probability of similar users who were exposed to these touchpoints to those who weren't. The actual calculation of conversion credit for each touchpoints depends on comparing all the different permutations of touchpoint and normalizing across them. This means that the data-driven attribution algorithm takes into account the order in which each touch point occurs and assigns different credit for different path position. For example, in the following high-level example, I'm showing it. We have two transactions, and we have the combination of Facebook and direct leads to conversion, which checks $500. When Facebook is removed, the checks drops to $300. Let's see how Shapley calculates the value for Facebook and direct here. So this part is for geeks, but I will show you and try to explain it in just simple words. If you will have any questions, you can write them. So we have three vectors, for example. The first one is combination of Facebook and direct leads to $500. Session with only one source direct leads to $300. And we don't have any transaction with only Facebook. And we can describe it in the following way. Vector 3 is Facebook leads to 0. Below, you see the formula and explanation for every source. So Here you can see the formula for every source. And in conclusion, I want to say that this model helps us to answer the question, what happens when we add one extra source into customer journey? Okay, so that's all about Shapley value. If you have any question, guys, you can ask us into the chat and we will try to help you to figure it out. Next one is attribution model based on Markov chains concept. Using Markov chains, we can represent every customer journey sequence of channels touch points as a chain in a directed Markov graph. So each top in graph is a possible state, and the edges represent the probability of transition between the states. It can be conversions. So let's start with simple example to clarify the logic. Let's imagine that we have information about states of weather and we want to understand what is the probability of going from one state of weather to another. So here we have state E, which is rainy day, and state A, which is sunny day. And here you also have probability metrics of going from one state to another. And on the right side of this slide, you can see the graph that we can receive using this metric. So let's go to the next slide and to see the example for e-commerce data. I hope it will be more understandable for you.
And also, to make it easier for you guys to understand, we've added links to the detailed explanation of each method in the very end of the presentation. So once we're done with the webinar and you get like a replay and a slide deck, you can go and take a look at it at your own pace.
Okay. So, for instance, customer journey contains 3 unique channels, C1, C2, and C3. You can see it in the first column. I will show you the table. And let's assume we have 3 customer journeys. First one is has 3 sources, 3 sessions with different sources, and it is ended with purchase. Next one had only one source, C1, and it is ended with unsuccessful conversion, so we don't have purchase. And the last one is with 2 sources and also have unsuccessful conversion. In addition, we should manually add 3 special states to each graph. It will be start, conversion, and null. These additional states represent start point, purchase, or conversion, and unsuccessful conversion. Due to the approach, we will add extra states. You can see it in the column 2 and split 4 pairs, and you can see it in column 3. Finally, we can plot the table. So the last step is to estimate every channel touch point. It's pretty easy to do. Here you can see the table with all probabilities and the general probability for each step. If you will have any questions about this table, I can answer you, but I hope that you guys can just study it more after the presentation. And here you can see the graph, which can describe that 3 transactions, that 3 information about the 3 sources. And we want to answer the question, what will be if we will put away one of the sources. So removing a channel or touch point from the graph means we should replace it in the other in channel pairs. And let's see what we can receive after removing C1. So it's look the following. The probability of conversion, you can see it under the graph, will be 16%. and you can see how it was calculated. So we have the sessions that goes from start to C2, and the probability of going to that stage is 33%, and the other people goes to null, and after that they go to C2 with the same probability. So we will receive only the part of this 66%. It will be the half of that users, and in the end we will receive like 16%. Also, you can see here all the needed calculations. If you will have any questions about it, you can ask me and I will try to answer.
Before switching to the next model, let's circle back to the Shapley value. Can we go over it again?
Okay.
Just to make sure that everyone is on the same page.
This one?
Yep.
Okay. So what is the question?
Just to go once over it again, maybe in a bit more detail with like some live examples.
Okay. So I think that it will be easier to understand what does it mean if I will tell you that Shapley value can answer the question actually how will the presence of the channel affect the conversion. So it means that in one funnel customer, in one customer journey, we have two sources. It was Facebook and direct, and we received the sum of money. And in another customer journey, we have only one source. It was direct, and we received $300. And we want to understand how much money Facebook gives us during Shapley value. It means, is it really helps us to receive more money, to receive more like lifetime value or average check of the conversion for every user. And here, N in the formula is the count of sources that we have in our customer journey. So here we have two sources that we are going to analyze, it Facebook and direct. And K will be the number of the source that we are going to analyze. So first one is Facebook, and second one is direct. And here we go. We see the formula and we understand that the value for Facebook is $100 from that all sum, and the value of direct is $400. So it means that the presence of Facebook really affect our customer journey and our purchase, and it helped us to receive more money. So it's like in simple words.
I think Ricardo has a bit different question about how it's different from other models, and I cannot agree that it's done in any attribution model. Shapley values considers the sequence of sources and what's going to happen if you take one of those sources out. That's the main difference in it.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, Markov chains affect if you are taking one source out, and Shapley value like analyze what will be if the source is present.
Oh yeah, thank you for correcting me. That's perfect. So yeah, the main idea that in Shapley values we check how the presence of source influences the final transaction. But we'll go over it the comparison just in a few slides in more detail.
Okay, so can I just continue?
Yeah, let's just like skip forward now back to the end of Markov chains.
Okay, so we already discussed the example and how to calculate the probabilities. And that's all about Markov chains. I will also summarize all this information in a comparison slide. It will be a little bit later. And now I want to talk about funnel-based OWOX BI attribution. So we will also try to answer the questions: how is the value distributed? Where is it used? What data you can and you have to use? And which question helps to answer this attribution model? So here is the answer: how the value calculated. First of all, before we start calculating everything, I want to tell that using OWOX BI model, um, you have to know some information. First of all, you have to set up conversion window. It is number of days before conversion. Only sessions happened within the conversion window will get value. By default, this parameter is set to 30 days, but you can check it in Google Analytics interface, in report time lag, or in smart data. You can ask yourself your data manually. Here you can exclude certain traffic channels and assign their value to the previous channel in the conversion funnel. So you can exclude that channels that for which you cannot add costs anymore, or they are not paid channels, for example. Each step has 4 parameters. It is step conversion rate, probability, value, step abandonment rate. And I will talk about every parameter a little bit later. So here you can see the graph. I will show everything that is on the graph. So here you can see blue chart and the blue column users. And here you can see step conversion rate. It is percentage of sessions in which a user had visited the step. For example, the purchase step is 2.1 conversion, means that 2.1 visits included visiting the checkout page. Probability, it is a red column, shows the percentage of users who came to these steps from the previous one in the funnel. For example, the purchase step is 27% probability, means that 27% of add to cart actions led to the purchase. While calculating the probability, BI attribution segments the data, breaking it down by user types, regions, and device types. The segmented data is available in the BI Smart Data reports and the results tab. After calculation, you will have the link, which will show you all raw data and all calculations that were made. So going to the table with the values again, we also have column value. It shows the conversion value share. The value is being determined as follows. First, we calculate the step weight. The smaller the probability, the greater the weight. Then the step weight is being divided by the sum of all steps. So you can see it here. We receive 18% for the non-bounce visit. It means that from the score 40, how we received 40. It is 100% minus the probability. So it answers the question, how hard was to go to this step? And we divided by the sum of all scores that we received. And here you can also see the calculation for other steps. Also about the steps, the visit step probability. If at the first you have a visit, then its probability equals 100 and value is 0. And to assign value to the channel's target at visitor acquisition, you can set non-bounce visit. You can see it also in the table. It can be the first step. Its probability is equal to the share of non-bounce sessions. Okay, so also during the probabilities calculation for each step, the data is grouped by customer type, um, regions, and previous steps. The probabilities of how users go through the funnels significantly depend on these parameters. So, customer type, new or returned, is defined whether a visitor made a purchase during last year or not, same as in Google Analytics. Device category is desktop, tablet, mobile, and cross-device. Is defined by the category of the device a visitor have been using during the last year. Region is defined by GA session dimension, and after calculation, you will receive the preview mode for your data. So you can see it on the next slide. And the gray the gray arrows that appear when hovering over the chart show the probability of moving from the current step to the others. So let's summarize what we receive in the end. We are going to compare three models, and here you can see the comparison table. So talking about data-driven, we have known that it helps to understand the influence of channels on the conversion. It allows you to find an inefficient channel. So it helps to answer the question, how will the presence of the channel affect the conversion? But unfortunately, it doesn't evaluate progress on the funnel, and you cannot connect offline data from CRM. If we are talking about Markov chains attribution, it allows you to estimate the influence of channel on the conversion. It helps you to understand which channel is the most significant, but it is underestimate the first link of the chain and isn't stable to the order in the chains. And you also can see the question that it helps to answer. It is, how will the absence of a channel affect the conversion? And if we are talking about uh, funnel-based attribution, it also allows you to assess influence of the channels on the conversion and advertisement along the funnel. It allows you to find an inefficient channel, and what is the most important, it helps you to understand where exactly it's not effective. But it has also underestimated the first step of the funnel. So it helps you to answer the question, how does the presence of channel affect conversion and when is the strongest influence? So,
And I think that's my part, yeah.
yeah.
So, we've showed you the models that are ready-made available at the market. But, that doesn't stop you from creating your own model if you think that that's what works the best for your business. And I want to show you this on the example of a company called Answer. So what they've done, let's start from, who they are. So they're a multi-brand online store selling clothes, footwear, accessories. They've been founded in 2010, if I'm not mistaken, yes, in Poland. And they operate in several different countries. And they have different marketing KPIs for those different countries depending on their market stage. So they decided to build their own attribution model that matches their business logic and business expectations. So the first thing they've done, they've divided channels into logical groups, such as comparison that would include price comparison services, affiliates, retargeting, CPC, display, and email campaigns. They had that as their channel groupings. After that, they define main KPIs and assign values to each KPI. So, for instance, new visit and low bounce rate would get positive credit. On the other hand, order cancellation, order return, they would give a negative credit to that particular source. Also, the size of that credit would differentiate depending on what has been done during that session. So, as you can see, that was their logic. And they've assigned value to each channel depending on what that channel helped to do. If they've introduced customer to the brand, or they closed the deal, or they've assisted a conversion, and so on. In the end of the day, they got this beautiful report in Google Sheets, no fancy tools used. Basically, they were, seeing the KPIs they're interested in, dependent on channel and source, and according to each of the markets they wanted. And that was very helpful in terms of making business decisions and operational stuff in marketing. Anyway, that also helped them to optimize their ad costs and to find out which of the campaigns were undervalued and overvalued, so they could reallocate their marketing budget in order to increase their sales. But no matter what happened and what attribution model you've chosen, when it's already the day X and time to evaluate your budget.
Okay, so in the end, you have to decide what question is more appropriate to your business. And let's remember the main questions again. The first one is, how did the presence of the channel in the chain affect the conversion? The next one is, how does the presence of a channel affect conversion, and when is this the strongest influence? So you want to analyze on which step the influence of the channel is like the most. Next question is, how did the lack of a channel in the chain affect the conversion? So what will be if you will exclude one of the channels? And the last question is, what in direct source before conversion was the last? And also you can see the names of the models that can help you to answer this question. So the first one was OWOX BI attribution model. The next one is attribution GA360. And the model that helps you to answer about indirect source before conversion is last non-direct click. It is also available in Google Analytics. And the last but not the least is Markov chains. And you can see here the graph that shows how it is calculated. So, Maria?
Yeah, again, if talking about using attribution models, they all mean nothing if you don't apply the results. So you may have as many beautiful models as you want, but you have to act on them. Because without a bidding integration, without using that data for changing your marketing strategy, it all means nothing. Here, also according to that role report from 2017, 70% of marketers they struggle to act upon the insights of attribution. So most of the decisions are still, gut feeling. And even if you see in your last click model certain numbers, for most of the marketeers nowadays, it doesn't, give a clear answer on how to change their marketing strategy. Again, using the same report from AdRoll, I just want to share some statistics from the survey they ran among their clients, asking them which models they find very effective and not effective. And you can see that linear model, for example, we found very effective by only 7% of responders. And if talking about first click, it's only by 12%, and 5% find it like non-effective at all. And as you can see, talking about like custom and algorithmic attribution models, most of the people, more than 40%, find them very effective. So I kindly ask you to take it serious and think what you can do today, tomorrow, maybe next week on Monday to make your attribution modeling and decision making better. And key takeaways from today. So start with a clear strategy and set of objectives. Understand what you want to get in the end of the day with this attribution modeling. Get internal buy-in for attribution. If you don't have anyone responsible for that, if you don't have a stakeholder for that, most likely the project is going to fail. Focus on defining the customer journey because all businesses are different. They all have different um, funnels. So you need to understand your funnel and what data you need to bring together in order to run proper attribution. For instance, for multi-channels, it's very important to consider physical orders as well as orders from digital touchpoints. Ensure the data quality because if you have not relatable data in, you're most likely going to have very weird results in the end. Use flexible technology. You shouldn't stick just to one model. Choose the approach and the tool that allows you to change your funnel, change the weights, and adjust logic according to your business and grow this logic together with the business. Test different models and find the one that align with your business goals. And of course, act on the results. So useful links as promised. Here you can find comparison of different attribution models, a very detailed description of Markov chains and Shapley values. And we are ready to take the questions, but I think we've answered all of them during the webinar. So I just want to invite you to our next webinar that's going to take place on November 13th. On the research online purchase offline behavior. So if you're a multi-channel or if a lot of your customer interactions happen offline or in the CRM system, that's definitely the topic that you want to join and listen to. So we'll see you there. And if there are no other questions, have a wonderful evening or morning, depending on where you are now. And thank you for your attention and your questions, guys.
So thank you guys, and we're all happy to see you here.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.